You were taught about kings, European kings, Asian emperors, Roman Caesars. You learned their names, their wars, their legacies. But there's one name they conveniently left out of your textbooks. One man who made every emperor, every pharaoh, every so-called great leader look modest by comparison. A black African king, so wealthy, so powerful, that his single pilgrimage to Mecca crashed the entire economy of the Mediterranean world for over a decade. His name was Mansa Musa, and they don't teach you about him for a very specific reason. This is Ancient Africa Untold, and today we're going to reconstruct the story they erased, the story of the richest human being to ever walk this earth. Not in theory, not adjusted for inflation as a footnote, but in actual documented world-shaking wealth. Let that sink in. Here's what most schools teach you about wealth and power in the medieval world. Europe was rising from the Dark Ages. The Middle East controlled trade. Asia had silk and spices. And Africa was a dark continent, primitive, tribal, waiting to be discovered. That's the story. But here's what they don't tell you. While Europe was burning books and calling it heresy, while kings in castles were hoarding silver coins, an African emperor was sitting on so much gold that his kingdom alone controlled half of the world's gold supply. Think about that. Not a percentage, not a share, half. His empire, the Mali Empire, stretched over 100 miles across West Africa, larger than Western Europe, wealthier than any European kingdom of the time. And Mansa Musa, he didn't just rule it. He transformed it into the intellectual and economic center of the medieval world. So why don't you know his name? Why isn't Mansa Musa on the same pedestal as Alexander, Caesar, or Charlemagne? Because his existence destroys the narrative that Africa had no civilization, the narrative that black people built nothing, the narrative that Europeans brought wealth, knowledge, and order to a savage land. Mansa Musa's story shatters all of that, and that's exactly why it was buried. But who was he really? Where did all that gold come from? And what did he do with it that terrified the world into silence? Let's go back to 1312. Mansa Musa didn't start as king. He was born Musa Keita sometime around 1280 into the royal family of Mali, but he wasn't supposed to rule. His predecessor, Mansa Abu Bakr II, was obsessed with exploration. Abu Bakr believed the Atlantic Ocean had another side. He wanted to know what lay beyond the horizon, so he did something almost unbelievable. He commissioned a fleet of 2,000 ships, loaded them with supplies, soldiers, and navigators, and he sailed into the Atlantic. Decades before Columbus, centuries before Europe claimed to discover the New World. Let that detail sit with you. An African emperor launched a massive naval expedition into the Atlantic in the early 1300s, but Abu Bakr never returned. And so, the throne passed to his deputy, Musa. Mansa Musa inherited an empire already rich in gold. But he didn't just maintain it. He expanded it. He centralized it. He transformed Mali into a superpower. Under his rule, the empire absorbed over 24 cities: Timbuktu, Gao, Djenné, names that would become synonymous with scholarship, wealth, and global trade. But here's the part they skip. Mansa Musa didn't rule through violence alone. He ruled through systems, legal structures, trade regulations, diplomatic treaties. He created a functioning bureaucracy that rivaled anything in Europe or the Middle East. And he did it all while black, while African, while everything they told you was impossible for his people. But where did all that gold actually come from? And how did one man control so much of it? The answer lies beneath the earth. Here's what they don't want you to connect. For centuries, European and Arab traders were desperate for African gold. Not just interested, desperate. Gold from West Africa fueled the economies of North Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe. But here's the catch. The Africans controlled the supply completely. The richest gold mines in the medieval world were located in two regions, Bambuk and Bure, both in the heart of the Mali Empire, and Mansa Musa controlled them both. These weren't small operations. These were industrial-scale mines, worked by skilled miners who understood geology, extraction, and trade. Arab traders would arrive at the edges of Mali's territory with salt, copper, and cloth, but they were never allowed into the mining regions. Never. The Malians practiced what's called silent trade. Traders would leave their goods on the ground. Miners would come, inspect the offer, and leave gold in return. No direct contact, no maps, no locations revealed. The Europeans and Arabs were getting rich off African gold, but they had no idea where it actually came from. Think about the power in that. Mansa Musa didn't just have gold. He had control over the resource everyone needed. He could regulate the flow, set the value, decide who got access. That's not wealth, that's empire, and it made him untouchable. If this is already blowing your mind, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button for Ancient Africa Untold, because this story gets even deeper, and we're just getting started. So if Mansa Musa was already this powerful, this wealthy, this untouchable, why did he decide to leave his empire and go on a pilgrimage? What he did next didn't just make history, it broke history. In 1324, Mansa Musa made a decision. He would fulfill his religious duty as a Muslim and travel to Mecca, a pilgrimage called the Hajj. Now, kings and emperors had made this journey before, but none of them did it like Musa. Not even close. Here's what he brought with him: 60,000 people. Let me say that again, 60,000 people. Soldiers, servants, officials, griots, scholars, dancers, an entire moving city. But that's not the part that shattered economies. He brought 12,000 slaves, each one dressed in Persian silk, each one carrying a golden staff weighing 4 pounds. He brought 80 camels. Each camel carried 300 pounds of gold dust. Do the math. That's 24,000 pounds of gold, just in the caravan. On top of that, Mansa Musa himself rode with a personal treasury that historians estimate was worth over $400 billion in today's currency. Let that number breathe. $400 billion in gold on a pilgrimage. As he traveled, Mansa Musa did something no ruler had ever done. He gave it away. In every city he passed, Cairo, Alexandria, Medina, Mecca, he distributed gold to the poor. He paid for mosques to be built. He bought goods, paid laborers, tipped servants. He was so generous, so excessive in his spending, that he crashed the gold market across Egypt and the Arabian Peninsula. For the next 12 years, gold was so devalued in Cairo that the entire economy destabilized. Prices skyrocketed. Inflation destroyed merchant wealth. Historians recorded it. Arab scholars wrote about it. This wasn't legend. This was documented economic catastrophe caused by one man's generosity. Now stop. Think about what that means. A black African king gave away so much gold that he destabilized the Mediterranean economy for over a decade. Not through war, not through conquest, through spending. And here's the kicker. On his way back, Mansa Musa realized he might have overdone it. So he did something almost unheard of. He took out loans. He borrowed gold in Cairo at high interest rates to stabilize the market and restore balance. He single-handedly caused inflation and then fixed it. Let me be clear, this wasn't recklessness. This was power. The power to disrupt and restore entire economies on a whim. The power to be so wealthy that your charity becomes a geopolitical event. But what did the world think of him after this? How did European and Arab scholars react to a black African king who could do this? The truth might surprise you, or maybe it won't. After Mansa Musa's pilgrimage, something interesting happened. He became famous. Not in Africa. He was already legendary there. He became famous in Europe. For the first time, European cartographers began putting Mali on the map. Literally. The Catalan Atlas of 1375, one of the most important maps of the medieval world, shows Mansa Musa sitting on a throne in West Africa, holding a golden scepter and a nugget of gold. The map labels him the Lord of the Negroes of Guinea, the richest and most noble king in all the land. Read that again. A European map made by Europeans, calling a black African king the richest and most noble in all the land. Not just Africa, all the land. Arab scholars were even more direct. The historian Al-Umari, writing in Cairo shortly after Musa's visit, said, "Gold was at a high price in Egypt until they came in that year. The mithqal of gold did not go below 25 dirhams and was generally above. But from that time its value fell and it cheapened in price and has remained cheap till now." He then added, "This man flooded Cairo with his kindness." But here's where the narrative splits. While Mansa Musa was alive, he was acknowledged, respected, even feared. But after his death, after colonization began, after the slave trade rewrote the story of Africa, Mansa Musa disappeared. His empire was reframed as a tribal kingdom. His wealth was downplayed or ignored. Timbuktu, the intellectual capital he built, was turned into a punchline, a metaphor for the middle of nowhere. Why? Because his existence was proof. Proof that Africans built empires. Proof that black civilizations controlled global economies. Proof that Africa was not waiting to be civilized. It was already the center of civilization, and that proof was dangerous. So they buried it. If you're realizing how much has been kept from you, you're not alone. This channel exists to uncover these truths. Subscribe to Ancient Africa Untold, hit the bell, and let's keep digging, because there's so much more. But what did Mansa Musa actually do with his wealth while he ruled? Did he just hoard it, spend it, flex it, or did he build something that lasted? Let's talk about Timbuktu. When you hear Timbuktu today, what comes to mind? For most people, it's a joke, a metaphor for somewhere far away, unreachable, irrelevant. But that's not what Timbuktu was, not even close. Under Mansa Musa, Timbuktu became one of the greatest centers of learning in the world. Not just in Africa, in the world. He built the Sankore University, a place where over 25,000 students studied at its peak. Let me put that in perspective. Oxford University in the 1300s had a few hundred students. Sankore had 25,000. Students came from across Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe to study mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, theology, philosophy, literature. The library at Timbuktu held over 1 million manuscripts, written in Arabic and African languages, on topics ranging from surgery to algebra to astronomy. Many of these manuscripts still exist today, preserved in private collections and libraries, and they prove something undeniable. Medieval Africa was literate, intellectual, and advanced. But here's what makes this even more significant. Mansa Musa didn't just fund these institutions. He brought scholars back with him from Mecca, poets, architects, engineers. One of them, Saheli, designed the famous Jingareber Mosque, a structure still standing today, over 700 years later, built with mud bricks and wood, no steel, no concrete, and it's still there, still used, still magnificent. Mansa Musa understood something that most rulers didn't. Wealth without knowledge is temporary. Power without culture is hollow. So he invested in legacy. He built schools, libraries, mosques. He turned his empire into an intellectual and spiritual beacon, and the world noticed. But again, after colonization, this history was scrubbed. Timbuktu was reframed as a backwater. The manuscripts were ignored, stolen, or destroyed. The universities were forgotten. Why? Because if people knew that Africa had universities while Europe was still burning witches, the entire justification for colonization collapses. So what happened after Mansa Musa died? Did his empire survive, or did it fall apart the moment he was gone? The answer tells you everything about what he truly built. Mansa Musa died around 1337. He had ruled for 25 years, and when he died, the empire didn't collapse. It continued. His son, Mansa Musa, took the throne. The systems Musa built, the trade networks, the legal structures, the educational institutions, they kept functioning. Mali remained a power for another century. But here's what happened next. Internal conflicts weakened the empire. The Songhai Empire eventually rose and absorbed much of Mali's territory. And then, in the 1500s, European ships arrived on the West African coast. They didn't come for knowledge. They didn't come for trade partnerships. They came for bodies. The transatlantic slave trade began. And with it, a new narrative. Africa was primitive. Africans were uncivilized. Africans had no history worth remembering. Everything Mansa Musa built, the wealth, the knowledge, the infrastructure, was rewritten as myth or ignored entirely. European historians called African oral traditions unreliable. They dismissed African manuscripts as borrowed from Arabs. They erased the evidence and then claimed there was no evidence. But the evidence survived. The maps, the manuscripts, the mosques, the oral histories. The Catalan Atlas still exists. The Sankore manuscripts still exist. The writings of Ibn Battuta and Al-Umari still exist. Mansa Musa's story was never lost. It was hidden, and now it's being uncovered by historians, researchers, storytellers, by channels like this one, because the truth doesn't disappear, it waits. If this story moved you, if it challenged what you were taught, if it made you angry or inspired, do 3 things. 1. Subscribe to Ancient Africa Untold. We're bringing these stories back, one at a time. 2. Share this video. Send it to someone who needs to hear this, post it, spread it. 3. Comment below. Tell me, did you learn about Mansa Musa in school? Did they teach you he was the richest man in history, or did they skip over him entirely? Let's talk. Mansa Musa wasn't just the richest man in history, he was proof that Africa was powerful, proof that black civilizations shaped the world, proof that the story you were told was incomplete. His name was erased from your textbooks, but it was never erased from history, and now you know. This is Ancient Africa Untold, and we're just getting started.